Hello, everybody. Happy October 24th. Welcome back to the MetaStellar YouTube channel, where we tell you about the top free best-selling science fiction books and fantasy books of the day. So you have some fun stuff to read this weekend. Because Amazon has a bestseller list just of free sci-fi and fantasy books. The link is in the description box below. I'm the editor here at MetaStellar, and with us today is E.S. Foster, our anthology editor, and Regina Clark, one of the members of our writers community. Hey, Regina. Hey, Emma.
Hey.
And two other people joined us for the reviews, but can't make it here for the video. And they are William Frenzel and Terrence Smith. So one of us will be reading their reviews for you. So the way it works is we read the first few chapters of each of the books on the top 5 list, and then we tell you what we think about the beginnings of those books. We don't have time to read the whole book because we want to get the review to you while the book is still free. They don't stay free for long. Publishers make them free to promote the authors of the books, and they're usually only free for a couple of days, and then they are not free anymore. So if you like the sound of any of these books, grab them quickly. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of these videos and find out about these books while they're still free. And we also have a newsletter. And now let's get to the books. We're going to start with book number 5 and count down to book number 1, which is juicy. All right, let's make that a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see the book cover. Here we go. This book is Shifted Magic by Heather Renee. It's the first of 3 books in the Fated to the Wolf, a paranormal romance series by a USA Today best-selling author. The other books are $5 to $6 each, and they're both in Kindle Unlimited. And Emma read this book for us. Emma, what do you think of the book?
Right off the bat, this one in particular, it seems like it's going to be a mashup of like the magic and witches books that we get a lot, and also wolf shape shifting. And we get like shifting books every now and then, and like mated things like that. Neither one of these things are to my taste, but I thought that it was interesting enough to like take the plunge on it because I've rarely seen both of these things together. So I started reading. The story begins with Andy, and she is this young girl who has moved to a small town in Montana. She previously lived in Los Angeles. Los Angeles. She wanted to start over and abandon her whole life there because her mother died and she doesn't have really any other family. So she works in a small gift shop and she finds herself covering a 10-hour shift when her boss finds out that her sister died and she has to leave. So late that night, she finally gets to leave and she closes up shop. On the way home, Andy's phone stops working. She also sees a strange looking man and woman on separate occasions who don't look trustworthy. She gets kind of weirded out by them and she tries to get ahead of them, but all of a sudden, another woman appears out of nowhere. This woman claims that she knows Andy's aunt, but Andy doesn't trust her either because the woman just kind of comes up to her and is like, "Oh, hey, I know your aunt. We need to like walk away together." And Andy's just like, "No, I really just want to get home." But suddenly there is a flash of black out of the corner of her eye, and Andy is forced to the ground. So it should be noted here that Annie has always been convinced that she has magic powers. Things just sort of seem to happen around her, and especially when she gets nervous. And it appears that she does have magic, and that these people are after her specifically. The woman explains that she's back against the dark magic attacking them, but whenever Andy tries, the force is so strong she doesn't really make much progress. So the woman hangs on to Andy, and they teleport near Andy's house. Annie breaks into a run, but she gets tangled up in a rope of black magic and is thrown to the ground. A man with a scar over his eye appears, and Andy fights back against the waves of dark magic he uses, and the woman finally comes up and shoves him back, saying that he and the other woman from before can't have Andy, and the man is forced to leave. The woman, whose name is Charlie, explains that the two black magic users want Andy as leverage for joining the coven that Andy actually belongs to. Andy doesn't know that she has magic or that she's part of any coven, but this was all hidden from her, and that explains why it turns out Andy's aunt, who actually has just died, was instrumental in getting Andy to Montana to be safe. So Charlie is the one who knew the aunt, and all of this is connected. So I stopped reading there. And this is where the story gets into like the male protagonist's POV and like there's a bunch of wolf shape-shifting and stuff, but I didn't read that part. I thought the beginning was really action-packed. I like that there were a lot of high stakes. I don't know if I'll continue reading with it purely because this is a genre that's really my thing. But if you like either one of these things, like wolf, shifting, magic, I recommend you check this book out.
I put myself on mute because I was drinking something with ice cubes. Oh, and speaking of sound, Emma is dialing in from the UK. You're like in the middle of nowhere in the United Kingdom, right? Somewhere like
I'm in the
in the
city.
far north. You're in a big city?
Yeah, I'm in Newcastle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still in the city.
All right, because we were lost a couple of words, or maybe that was just me.
Ah,
Like,
sorry
anyway.
about that.
Okay, so we're on another book about witches, The Witch's Inheritance. Let me make that one bigger for you guys. Here we go. The Witch's Inheritance by Lyssa Lund is the first of 3 books in the Silver Mist Cove Cozy Mystery series. The other books are $2 to $3 each, and they're all in Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited is where you pay $12 a month and you read all the books you want. So I love a nice, cozy, escapist, magical mystery with a cute cartoon character on the cover. And if there's a cat, it's a bonus. But it's not a cat, it's some kind of dog that's on there. Um, the book starts with a prologue that's 25 years in the past. The protagonist and her friend are children. They're hiding in the woods, and they seek shelter in a cave, and they're found and attacked, and monsters come. Then in chapter 1, uh, we're in Paris. Okay, so it's not Paris, the city. The title of the chapter is a person's name, and that person is our protagonist, Paris. She's looking out the window, and a voice is telling her to go home, back to the small town of Silver Mist Cove. And this voice tells her that a man who makes Paris's heart skip a beat, needs her. They all need her. And she sees the man and the town's inn in a vision, or maybe she's dreaming. So, no, she's not dreaming. She's having a vision while standing in a newly renovated bed and breakfast looking out over a courtyard. And there's a client with her, and the client wants to know if she's all right. And so she makes a mental note to talk to her doctor about changing her anxiety medication because, she's hallucinating during a business meeting. And we also learned that she's been taking on these design and renovation projects back to back for the past couple of years, ever since her mother died. She's mostly been doing offices, but now she did this bed and breakfast, and it was a welcome change. So after this meeting, she drives home, and she's got a little chihuahua named Sugar, and she takes the chihuahua for a walk. Oh, I have a new dog. Come here, dog. Jelly, come here. No. Come here. No. Anyway, people asked about her last week. She's really cute, but she's not interested. Anyway, she has a little chihuahua. And so she takes the dog for a walk. And while she's walking, she thinks about something that happened 20 years ago in her small town. It was something pretty bad, something she should have gotten there before, but didn't. And we're not told right away what it was. Instead, a black cloud of smoke appears and disappears mysteriously, and then her phone rings. And she learns that Helena died, and Helena was an old friend of the family, and Paris used to stay with her on summer vacations. And then in the next chapter, we switch to the town of Silver Mist Cove, and we're in the point of view of a guy named Finn. Maybe he's the handsome guy Paris is still pining over. I'm betting he is because he's a point of view character. And he's listening to a lawyer read Helena's will. And then afterwards, he goes to Helena's house because the lawyers gave him a set of keys, although he already had a set of keys. And he wishes he just could have sold the house and only came back to town for the funeral. But Helena was making things complicated. And we don't know how yet. Then we switch back to Paris. She's just arrived in the small town. She's checking in at where she's staying. She's on a mission. She's on a mission to find some answers. and she thinks she might find them in Helena's journals. So her plan is to sneak into Helena's house and search it before Finn arrives. And she checked and made sure that her driveway was empty. And she decided to come back later after dark. And then at the end of that chapter, something unexpected happens. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll let it be a surprise. But I am going to keep reading. The setting is adorable. The town is quaintly magical. Characters are nice to spend time with. It kind of feels like a Murder, She Wrote mystery, but with magic and a chihuahua. And I'm just almost finished with that giant series of books I was reading from an older Free Friday. So I am going to have time on my reading schedule. So yay me. All right, next we have The Crimson Inkwell by Kenneth Baldwin. The first of 3 books in the Llewellyn Winthrop trilogy of historical fantasy series. The other books are $1 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And Regina read this book for us, or Regina read the beginning of this book for us. Regina, what'd you think of it?
Good.
Oh, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, I'll start again. Let me know if that happens again. I was really intrigued by the cover, which is why I picked this book, because it's got all the elements of Victorian fantasy and witchery and that sort of thing in it. As the story opens, a young journalist, Luella, is accosted by a professional critic as she enters the offices of Langley's Miscellany. Ignoring him, she goes to the owner of the journal, who is also her fiance and her boss. He insists that she have tea, delaying critical news he has to give her, namely that the critic has seriously compromised the reputation of the journal and may affect their earnings. It's a slow start, but not without its charm. Only nothing at all happens in the rest of the chapter. Zero, no action, even the sense of a budding mystery. And Luella and her boss spend the next 10 pages going back and forth on why her role at the journal must be diminished. Well, since she's a female and he needs to hire a young lad to gather leads so they can write more stories. To date, she has only published 1 story for the journal, which was very well received under a male pseudonym, but then her boss / fiance told everyone that he was the author of it. So they make a very curious couple. In the next chapter, again, remember, nothing has happened in this first chapter to speak of. In the next chapter, we meet Luella's sister right away, and they are polar opposites. Her sister's beauty and inner fire make her interesting to men, but she also threatens their ego. Again, a Victorian theme, and thus has stayed, or maybe a contemporary theme, and thus has stayed unmarried so far. She is, however, being courted by a man a few years younger than her, which would be a scandal in the making. Still, Luella is certain her sister's best bet in life is to be married and have children. So Luella, honestly, by this point in the story, it felt as if I was reading the initial episode of a soap opera, which I'm not, I confess, very much of a fan. But I persevered, and as yet, even so, there has been no hint in the book, in the second chapter, of the crimson inkwell, magic, or the paranormal, all of which I expected. Luella wanders through the city at this point and enters a police station to see if she can generate a story, which again, her boss did not want her to do. Never, she waits there and ruminates on the receptionist who's received her and asked her to wait. And she sees this receptionist as a woman past her prime and unmarried, and for whom she feels pity. So this, again, there's some jarring elements about Luella's attitude towards other women that struck me then. Again, not surprising in Victorian times, but why have it in the book was my question. Suddenly the mood shifts just at the end of chapter 2 as an idyllic-looking young man, a lieutenant, appears in the police lieutenant, appears in the doorway. His captain is behind him, and that's who Luella has come to see. For once, that captain knew her father. She's hoping for a connection and a story lead. The captain doesn't take her seriously, but concedes the lieutenant might have a story she'd like to hear. After all, he's seen a ghost. And there's the first mention of a paranormal. The book is #1 in its niche of Victorian fantasy and magical realism, both of which are subgenres I really, really like. It claims to be in the style of the truly powerhouse novels like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell and The Night Circus. I don't see any grounds for this at all in the first 2 chapters. I didn't feel inclined to read any further, but maybe the rest of the book offers more depth into the magic and the Victorian atmosphere that I've been hoping for and expecting. According to the book's description on the Amazon page, that is possible. And I'm guessing the lieutenant may become competition for her current fiance. So that's it.
Thanks. And I got my dog. So her name is Rigel, like the star in the Orion constellation. And she could be a terrier, but she could also be Havanese, which is a kind of breed of dog. And she just got fixed this week, so she's feeling a little sleepy. We also came back from a walk, slow, relaxing walk, not to pull any stitches. So I'm going to let her go back to bed. She's got a little bed right here next to my desk. Hey, honey. Oh, yeah, poor baby. All right. Okay, so that's the big news for my life. All right, let's go on to book #2 on today's list, which is a space opera. And William Frenzel read this for us. He's a member of our Patreon community and also a writer. And he couldn't make it here today. So I'm going to read this review for him. And let me make that bigger so you guys can see the book. All right, here we go. Chaos Zone by Kate Sheeran Swed is the first of 8 books in the Parse Galaxy space opera series. The other books are $1 to $5 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And William says that the book, does what the cover promises. It's a space opera right from the beginning. He says that there's a Star Wars vibe, kind of a seedy underworld style, like The Mandalorian, not like the classic Jedi stories. So, and he says he's a sucker for a good, strong setting description in the opening, and the book delivers. It opens with a gripping bird's eye view look at its opening location, with some space jargon thrown in to give a sense of the world and tantalize you, but it's not confusing or overwhelming. The author has an easy flowing writing style that pulls you in and brings you to the main protagonist of this novel, a bounty hunter named Sloane. And she is one of those classic bounty hunters, and she's got a desperate and reckless plan to pull one big last contract to solve all her problems. And the book hints at some pretty interesting family dynamics that might have caused those problems. And William says that she's an immediately interesting person, and she has just the right amount of charm and competence to clearly get herself into some pretty hairy situations, but also a strong chance of pulling herself right back out of them by the skin of her teeth. She's a strong and clever character, but there's enough nuance not to make her feel overly perfect and annoying. And William says he was rooting for her right away and enjoyed her early interactions with several other characters. So the first couple of chapters are a breezy and exciting read. There's a bounty hunt that's kind of like a heist inside a secret casino. And there's a fighting pit in the casino. And it does feel like a really great heist. And there's a classic outline of a plan and a lot of improvisation. But every move she makes is nicely foreshadowed. Everything's paced well. There's a logical build-up of it. And there's also a trope of a character from the past showing up to be a potential antagonist moment at the cliffhanger at the end of the first chapter, and he says it is effective. And then we see some fun interplay between the characters and strong tension as the climax of this bounty hunt or heist nears. and space cops dramatically show up, and there's a close call and a thrilling escape. And he doesn't want to spoil too much, but he says it really does make use of the setting and genre, and it's a very satisfying space opera moment. And then there's a jarring switch. The novel switches perspective to the guy who was the antagonist in the first couple of chapters and introduces some political drama. And now the vibe is still Star Wars, but more Phantom Menace than Mandalorian. And things get a little muddled. And he says he's still not sure what the political structure of this world actually is and how these things work. And maybe some straightforward exposition would have been useful. But confusion aside, there were also a few mistakes that drove him a bit crazy as an English teacher, because he's also, in addition to being a poet, an actor, and a director, he's also an English teacher. But he says the character interactions were so strong that he enjoyed the chapters and is looking forward to reading more. So then the book switches back to Sloan, which he likes. And he says that character work definitely seems to be one of the author's strong points, because even the minor characters were very intriguing. And he says that it feels like a quick and energetic read and a fun start to the series. And he's looking forward to finishing it and reading more of her books. And for people who like space opera, he definitely recommends checking it out. And before we go on to book number 1 on today's list, I want to thank our Patreon supporters. So MetaStellar is a free online publication. So we publish short stories for free. Every week we have new short stories up on our site. We do lots of book reviews. We also serialize entire books. And we have nearly 100 people making it all possible, all volunteers. Including everyone who's reading the current crop of short story submissions. We're getting to the end of our October submission cycle. It closes the end of the month, so you guys have a week left to submit your short story. All the work is done by volunteers. All the money that we raise goes to pay for original fiction. So all the donations pay real human authors for real human work. We do not accept AI-generated stories. So if that's a mission you care to get behind, that would be wonderful if you can join our Patreon or click the join channel link in the description box below. All the money goes to the same place, to our authors, including, let's see, authors who are in this anthology that Emma put together, and E.E. King, who wrote Gods and Monsters, which is on the Nebula Award reading list for next year, which is awesome. This is the first book we serialized. It's available in print, electronic form on all the bookstores. It's also available for free on our website. And E.E. King herself reads the entire book for our YouTube channel. The playlist is down below as well. And we also have mugs you can get. And we have a brand new mug that we just put up, Humans Are Magic, and it features the comics drawn by Nat Couture, our own MetaStellar artist. Her comics run every week on MetaStellar, and we just thought Humans Are Magic is a very appropriate sentiment to have in this day and age. I've already ordered mine. They're in the mail. So once they do arrive, I will show you the actual mugs as well. And the last thing I want to do before we go on to book number 1 on today's list is I want to thank Emma for her work on MetaStellar. And she is a book coach and editor. And she's currently working on her PhD in the UK. And and she's available for coaching if you would like to hire her. Regina Clark has books up on Amazon, and they're fantasy and they're sci-fi, and they have mystical elements to them. So very cool, very fun. I have books up on Amazon, but I'm currently in the process of re-editing all of them before I post the next 10 books that I've written. I keep forgetting. You know how things are. Maybe you don't. Anyway, I'm working on things. All right, now let's go on to book number 1 on today's list. which is a little apocalyptic. All right. So this is Strand of Faith by Rachel Bonner, the first of 4 books in the Choices and Consequences post-apocalyptic romantic series. The other books are $1 to $4 each, and they're not in Kindle Unlimited. And Terrence read this for us, and since Terrence isn't here, Emma will tell us what Terrence thought of the book. Oops, I muted you instead of making you big by mistake, Emma.
Yeah, you're good. Right. So, right off the bat, Terrence says that this is not something he would consider a go-to weekend read. He says, at least not on paper, because it's a story about 2 star-crossed lovers and they're in a fantasy world. But he said, surprisingly, he was having fun with it. The story shifts between the two protagonists, Prospero, who is a monk in an abbey, and Leonie, who is a young woman who has disguised herself as a male to take refuge in the abbey. Both of them possess magical powers. Prospero has the ability to detect people with his mind, and Leonie has pyrokinesis and telekinesis. Terrence says that he was drawn into this world almost immediately because he initially thought it was fantasy, but now he knows that the story is more post-apocalyptic, and he's wondering if this was secretly our world's post-apocalyptic future, with humans sort of progressing, like the progress that we have now being reset and things happening where we develop magical powers, and these characters are kind of like mutants in some way. But being with these powers were even once hunted like mutants and X-Men comics, that type of thing. And the characters seem likable. A young man who he assumed was Prospero before his life at the monastery shows compassion to a young girl, likely Leonie before her double life, and it's implied that the man was supposed to hunt her down and all of her kind, but he abandoned the hunting group, and it shows that he was not as cruel and heartless as his companions. He also says that Leonie exudes innocence and compassion and establishes herself as a caregiver for her family. And he is really curious to see where the story goes. Terrence says he can't say that he'll be continuing with the book, but anyone interested in fantasy should check the book out.
Yeah, he said that he doesn't like reading ebooks, which is
Yeah,
all we do is read ebooks. Every single Friday, we're here reading ebooks.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe that's why he keeps giving Powell's links and bookshop.org links to kind of nudge people towards buying physical books. Anyway, that's it for today's books. If you like any of them, if you've read them and want to chime in on what you thought of the book now that you read it, let us know in the description box below. If there's other books you want us to read, we do other book reviews besides Free Fridays. And if you want to submit a short story, you have until the 31st to submit it. It's on the top of our website, and I'll add the submission link in the description box down below. All the books are in the description box below. Our merch is in the description box below. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any of these. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Emma, for joining us. Thank you, Regina. And thank you, William and Terrence, for helping us out. I hope you guys have a great weekend and you're enjoying October. That's why our background's orange. October. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.